Let's close up this project and open up project number 4. Just going to close this. I'm going to save it. And from your projects folder, open up project 4. I'm going to reset my windows. Control U or window arrange standard will reset your windows. So I have a few clips laid out here in the timeline. I'm going to apply some filters to them. I'm going to select the first clip here. Go up to your Effects tab. Go to Video Filters, go to Blur, and select one of the filters. I'm going to select Gaussian Blur. It goes a little bit soft. If you double-click on the image, open it into the viewer, go into the Filters tab here, are the controls for it. You can crank up the blur value. I'm just going to switch off my wireframe. In the canvas here, just press the W key twice. We'll take that off. So this is how you can adjust and control the filters. All the filters have different controls. This one here, for instance, you can blur the R and G and B channels separately from each other to create some interesting effects. You can turn a filter on and off with a little checkbox here. Leaves it in place, but it will turn it on and off. You can remove a filter by selecting the name and pressing the delete key. Let's add another filter. We'll go up to the Effects menu. Let's go down to Video Filters. And let's go to Distort, and we'll take, let's take Insect Eye. Opens up already into the viewer because I'm already in the Filters tab here. I can change the size and the refraction. I can add a little border to it if I wanted to. So notice I have this sharp insect eye effect on that image. I'm going to apply a blur filter to that again. Go to Effects, Video Filters, Blur, do the Gaussian blur again, and crank up the value. You notice it's blurring the insect eye. The order in which the filters are applied are important. The first filter is rendered first, and then the second filter. So this filter is blurring the insect eye. If I take the Gaussian blur filter and pull it on top of the insect eye, it's now happening before the insect eye. So the image is being blurred, and then the insect eye is sharp on top of it. Let's apply another filter to the second image. I'm going to apply a little dazzle filter. I'm going to show you how to animate it. Go up to Effects, Video Filters, and from the Glow section, we'll put a little dazzle filter onto it. So this is a dazzle effect. Open it into the viewer here. And again, I'll reset my windows to 2-up. It's always easier when you're doing animations to be in 2-up view because you can see the keyframe graph here. So in this portion of the image, I just want the dazzle to come up very sharply. So I want it to be quite dazzling, but only very briefly. So I can do that by animating this with the keyframe buttons. So right about here, I'll set a keyframe and pull the amount down to 0. So now it has no dazzle. A little bit later in time, I'll set another keyframe, also at 0. Then halfway in between, I'll crank up this value to whatever I want. So now it's going to go from 0 up to 53 and then back down to 0. And it will look like this. You have that little dazzling effect in the middle of the image. There are obviously a lot of filters with a lot of different controls. We can't go through all of them, but I want to show you a couple of them. One of them in particular I want to show you is the color corrector 3-way. I want to apply that to the last image here. If you're doing a color correction for your video inside Final Cut, this is probably used for 90% of color correction within Final Cut. Go up to the Effects menu, go to Video Filters, go to Color Correction, and apply the Color Corrector 3-way. If you open that into the viewer, you'll see there is now a separate tab for the Color Corrector 3-way, and it looks like this. The best way to work with the Color Corrector 3-way is to look at a separate window arrangement which is designed specifically for color correction. Go to Window, Arrange, Color Correction. And here on the right, the tool bench opens up with the video scopes in it. The vector scope, histogram, waveform monitor, and the RGB parade. You can switch your layout here to waveform monitor, so you see the waveform monitor. I'll just push up the brightness here of the display. Click that, drag that up. The trace will now be brighter and you can see it more easily. So in this image, the black is at the bottom and the brightness, the whiteness is up at the top. You can see that there's really nothing in the image that's down at black, and there's also really very little that's up at pure white. So to adjust that, you use these sliders, the blacks, the mids, and the whites. The blacks are the bottom part of the image, so take your scroll wheel, move that and push that down so it crushes down on the bottom so you get pure black, a nice rich deep black. And if you want to raise the whites, on that slider, move the scroll wheel, push up the whites till it goes up to the top. You can now adjust the mids to make it higher or lower contrast. That will adjust the luminance values. The next thing you want to adjust is the color. And you can do that with these controls here. The first thing you want to look at is the RGB parade. The parade will show you that the blacks are not quite equal. The blue is set up a little bit high, and there's a little bit green, of too much green in the blacks. You can adjust that by adjusting the blacks hub, drive that away towards red magenta. If you hold down the command key, it'll be easier to move it till the bottom of that parade is a little bit more level. And you can toggle this filter on and off with this little checkbox here. You can see how it's taken out some of that blue cast that's in the blacks. You want to do that for the whites as well. Another way to do this is with a little eyedropper. You can do it with the eyedropper for the whites or for the blacks. Click on the little eyedropper here and go inside the image and see if you can find some white and click on it, and that will pull this over towards yellow, pull it away from blue. It'll pull the blue cast out of it. So this is the image with the filter, and this is the image without the filter. And then you can go in and tweak it a little bit, maybe a little bit less yellow. Maybe you want it warmer. You can push up the mids a little bit. Again, with the command key, will gear up. So it gives you pretty good control of your image. Take a look at the vector scope, which will display the color. And once you have it the way you like it, you can copy and paste it from other images. You can do that by selecting the image, copying it, selecting another image, and using paste attributes. You can use paste attributes for pretty much anything. You can paste basic motion attributes. You can paste distortion attributes, filters, speed if you have that applied, opacity, and so on. I'm just going to apply the filters. Click on filters, and that will apply the same attributes or the same filter effects that I had on this image to this image, and you can do it to multiple images at the same time. I'll just reset my windows again with Control U. I want to show you composite modes. They're not strictly filters, but they are effects. If I take this image here and drag it on top of the second still image, the only image I see here obviously is this one that has the filter applied to it, the 09 JPEG. But you can apply opacity to this. You can do that either in the viewer in the motion tab, or very simply here, this little clip overlay button, turn that on. This black line appears, and that's the opacity. You can pull it down, and the image is now partially transparent. You can look through the image. So that's one type of compositing. The other type of compositing is using composite modes. If you go up to the Modify menu, go to Composite Modes, and you can select the composite modes, add, subtract, difference. These are very much like Photoshop's blend modes. The add composite mode will combine the pixel values. You can also do this by right-clicking on the clip, selecting composite mode, and picking another one. Try different ones. They all have slightly different effects. Multiply looks quite interesting on that.